Okay, here's part one of your story. That was just the Vanguard, written in third person using simple and basic English. This section is around 800 words long and sets up the first contact between humans and the Zevran coalition. The sky over a small town in Kansas turned dark as a strange object descended through the clouds. It wasn't an airplane or a weather balloon. It was something no one had ever seen before. Smooth, black, and silent. The people below stopped what they were doing and looked up. Some thought it was a movie set. Others thought it was a joke, but most didn't know what to think. The ship landed in a field outside of town. It made no noise when it touched down, not even a thump. The grass around it flattened like it had been pressed by invisible hands. Moments later, a door opened on the side of the craft. A ramp extended slowly, and from inside stepped three tall figures dressed in tight, shimmering suits that changed color with every movement. They had no visible mouths, only smooth faces covered in glowing lines. Their eyes glowed faintly blue and they moved with eerie precision. Nearby, Sheriff Luke Harper got the call on his radio. "Something's landed out by Old Miller's farm," said the voice of Deputy Carol Jones. "Looks weird." Luke grabbed his hat and gun and climbed into his patrol car. He drove fast toward the edge of town. Along the way, more calls came in. People were scared. Some kids had gotten close and took videos until their phones died. When Luke arrived, he saw the alien ship and the three beings standing near it. They hadn't moved far from the ramp. They just stood there, watching. He stepped out of his car, hand resting on his holster. "You folks are trespassing," he called out, trying to sound calm. "This is private land." The tallest of the three tilted its head. Then it spoke, but not with a mouth. The voice came from somewhere else, maybe from the suit itself. "We come in peace," it said. The voice was flat and cold. Luke blinked. "Well, you sure picked a weird place for that." More townspeople gathered at a distance. Some had binoculars. Others held cameras or phones. Curiosity mixed with fear. One of the aliens raised a gloved hand and pointed at a child holding a toy truck. The child's mother screamed when a soft hum filled the air and a beam of light scanned the boy from head to toe. "Hey!" Luke shouted. "Don't touch him!" He drew his weapon and fired a shot into the air. The moment the bullet left the barrel, everything changed. The aliens reacted instantly. Shields flared around them. Lights blinked on their suits. The ship behind them began to pulse with energy. "Threat detected," the tall one said. "Activate Protocol 7. A second later, the ground shook. A wave of force knocked Luke off his feet. Nearby cars flipped over. Windows shattered in houses a mile away. From the town, people ran. Some fell. Others screamed, but not everyone. Ran, old man Hank Miller had fought in Vietnam. He saw what happened and knew he couldn't let those things stay unchallenged. He ran back to his barn and pulled out an old tractor engine, a few lengths of chain, and a homemade explosive he used for clearing stumps. Within minutes, a group formed. Not soldiers, not scientists, just regular people. Farmers, mechanics, hunters, teachers. Hank tied the chains to the tractor engine and hooked it to his pickup truck. He loaded the explosive onto a sled and aimed it at the alien ship. "Drive," he told his nephew. The truck roared forward. Meanwhile, Luke got back up and saw what was happening. He didn't try to stop them. Instead, he pulled out his radio. "Carol," he said, "get me every truck, trailer, and welding torch in this county. We're taking those things down." Back at the landing site, the aliens were scanning the area, trying to understand the sudden resistance. They sent out drones, small flying machines that hovered above the fields. One of them flew toward the approaching truck. Hank's nephew saw it and swerved. The drone followed. "Shoot it!" someone yelled. A hunter named Dan Holmes fired his rifle. The bullets pinged off the drone's shell. "Use the slingshot," Hank shouted. Dan's brother Tom had rigged a large slingshot using truck tires. He loaded a rock the size of a melon and let it fly. The rock hit the drone dead center. It spun wildly and crashed into a tree. The aliens hesitated. In that moment of confusion, Hank's truck reached full speed. He threw the switch on the remote detonator. The explosive launched off the sled and slammed into the base of the alien ship. There was a flash, then fire. The explosion tore through the lower hull. Alarms blared from inside the ship. The tall alien shouted something in its own language. The other two tried to retreat, but the townspeople were already closing in. A farmer named Betty Rigby swung a sledgehammer at one of the alien's legs. The suit cracked. Sparks flew. Another alien tried to activate a device on its wrist, but Dan Holmes tackled it with a tackle. He learned playing college football. The third alien managed to get back to the ship, but it was too damaged to take off. Inside, systems failed one by one. Then, with a final groan, the ship collapsed in on itself and exploded. When the smoke cleared, the townspeople stood there, stunned. They had just taken down an alien invasion. None of them knew what would happen next. But across the galaxy, someone did. And they were watching. Let me know if you want part 2 or if you'd like this in a document format. Sure, here's part 2 on your story. That was just the Vanguard? Written in third person using simple and basic English. This section is around 800 words long and continues the story as the Zevran coalition reacts to their defeat. The Zevran High Command watched the footage from their fallen ship. It played over and over on a large screen in a dark room. The tall alien leaders stood still, glowing lines on their faces dimming with each viewing. This was not possible, one said. They are primitive. They should have been easy. Another spoke. They were fast, they adapted. They fought like soldiers, but they were not trained. A third turned toward a floating console. Send report, prepare for re-entry. Back on Earth, the people of Kansas were still trying to understand what had just happened. The explosion lit up the night sky. Smoke rose for hours. The sheriff, Luke Harper, tried to keep things calm. We don't know if more are coming, he told the townspeople. So we stay ready. But not everyone stayed quiet. Videos spread online. Some showed blurry clips of the aliens. Others captured the explosion. Within days, the whole world knew something had happened in a small town no one had heard of before. In Washington, government officials met behind closed doors. In basements and labs, scientists argued about what the aliens were made of. In classrooms, students talked about nothing else. And in a quiet neighborhood in Texas, a man named Jason Cole sat at his kitchen table. He used to be a Marine. Now he was just a guy who fixed cars for a living. But when he saw the video, something clicked. He picked up his phone and called an old friend. "Hey, Mark," he said. "You remember that training we used to do?" "Yeah," came the reply. "Why? I think we might need it again." Meanwhile, far above the planet, a Zevran scout ship entered orbit. It wasn't big, just a small craft sent to learn what went wrong. Its captain, a cold-eyed officer named Vreltan, studied the reports. 3 dead, he muttered. Ship destroyed. By primitives. His second-in-command stepped forward. "Should we strike back?" Vreltan thought for a moment. "No, we assess. We test." The next morning, a bright light appeared over the mountains of Colorado. It moved fast, silent, and low. People looked up. Birds scattered. Then it landed. Not in a field this time. Not in plain sight. It landed deep in the forest, hidden from view. From it stepped 5 figures, taller than before, wearing black armor that shimmered like oil on water. They carried weapons that glowed red at the tip. Their mission: observe, engage, and return with data. They moved like shadows through the trees. 2 days later, a group of hikers found something strange near a river. It was one of the alien suits broken open like an eggshell. Inside was nothing but dust. Further down the trail, another suit lay half buried in snow. Its visor was cracked. A tree branch stuck out of the chest plate. Word got back to Jason. He smiled. "They're testing us," he said, "which means they're scared." He started organizing. Former soldiers, hunters, engineers, anyone who could fight or build or plan. They didn't have fancy gear. They had old rifles, pickup trucks, and tools from garages and farms. But they had something else. They had heart. One night, a team led by Jason set up near a ridge. They'd tracked the aliens using stolen tech and local tips. They waited in silence. When the aliens came, they didn't come alone. They brought drones, small fast machines that flew ahead and scanned the area. Jason gave a hand signal. A young woman named Claire, a college student who liked building robots, pressed a button on her device. The drones flickered, then fell from the sky like dead insects. The aliens hesitated. Just then a truck roared into view, lights blazing. It was followed by two more. They circled the aliens, horns blaring, engines roaring. Confused, the aliens raised their weapons. Before they could fire, ropes dropped. From the trees, 3 of them were caught and yanked off their feet. One tried to run. Dan Holmes, the same hunter from Part 1, took aim and fired. The alien fell. Within minutes, it was over. The humans gathered around the fallen enemy. "They're not gods," Jason said. "They bleed, they die." Back in space, the Zevran Council received the news. 5 lost, said a voice. "Again?" asked another. They were ambushed, defeated by untrained locals. Silence filled the chamber. Then came the order. "Prepare the fleet." For what? Full-scale assessment. With orbital support? Yes. But that would mean, yes, across the galaxy, ships began to move. Back on Earth, the war had only just begun. Let me know if you want Part 3 or if you'd like this saved as a document. Here is Part 3 of your story. That was just the Vanguard? Written in third person, using simple and basic English. This section is around 800 words long and continues the story as humanity starts to organize and fight back on a larger scale. The news spread fast, not just across the country but around the world. The videos, the reports, the stories, they all said the same thing. Aliens had come, and humans had fought them off. At first, people didn't believe it. Then they did. In basements and garages, people started working. Not just soldiers or scientists, but regular folks. Mechanics, welders, students, farmers, and even shopkeepers. They took apart alien tech that had been left behind. They studied how it worked. They tried to copy it. Some failed. Some almost blew themselves up. But some succeeded. One of those was Mara Ellis. She used to teach physics at a small college in Ohio. Now she led a team trying to understand alien energy cells. Her group called themselves Team Spark. "We don't need to build their ship," she told them one night. "We just need to use what they leave behind." They worked day and night. They built tools, weapons, and defenses from broken alien gear. They shared what they learned, online, through encrypted channels with others who were doing the same. Across the country, more groups formed, each with a different skill. One group focused on hacking, another on drones, another on building better armor. And then there was Jason Cole. He was still organizing fighters, veterans, hunters, and anyone else who could hold a weapon or drive a truck. He trained them, not like soldiers, but like survivalists. "We're not fighting a war," he told his people. "We're staying alive, and making sure they don't." Back in space, the Zevran watched. Their scouts had failed. Their warriors had been beaten by untrained humans. Now the council made a decision. "We will crush them," said Vreltan, the cold-eyed officer. From above, a fleet was assembled. It wasn't huge, but it was enough. 5 warships, each carrying hundreds of soldiers and dozens of attack drones. They dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's orbit. No warning, no message, just fire. The first strike hit a city in Brazil, then one in India, then one in Russia, then one in the United States. Millions watched as smoke rose into the sky. Millions more cried for friends and family lost in seconds. But not everyone panicked. In Texas, Jason got the call. "They're serious now," said Mark, his old friend. "They're really coming." Jason stood quiet for a moment. Then he grabbed his coat. "Then we meet them." On the ground, governments began to work together. Not perfectly, not without arguing, but they worked. Generals talked to engineers. Politicians gave way to action. Military bases opened their doors to civilians with ideas. Mara's team sent blueprints to factories. Within days, they were printing parts for weapons and shields. In California, a hacker named Tyler Bennett broke into Zevran comms. He listened. He learned. He shared what he found. They're scared, he told his friends. That's why they're hitting so hard. In Georgia, a retired pilot named Dan Reyes joined up with Jason's group. He had flown jets once. Now he flew modified drones. I'll give them something to look at, he said. He and others launched homemade rockets into the sky. They weren't fancy, but they worked. One drone crashed into a Zevran scout ship and knocked it out of the sky. Back in space, the Zevran commanders argued. This should not be happening, one said. They are animals, they should run. They do not run, said another. They fight, and they learn. Vreltan looked at the reports. He saw the damage, the losses, the growing resistance. He turned to his aide. Prepare for full-scale invasion. Sir? Yes. We will send more ships, more troops. We will break them. But if they keep learning... Vreltan stared at the screen showing the burning cities below. They won't have time. Far below, in a hidden base in Colorado, Jason and Mara met with others. We can't stop them all, Mara said. Not yet. But we can slow them down, Jason added. Make them pay for every inch. Dan Reyes nodded. I say we take the fight to them. Mara smiled. I think I can help with that. She pulled up a blueprint on her tablet. It showed a new kind of fighter jet. Not built from human tech, but from alien scrap and stolen parts. We call it the Wraith, she said. Dan looked at it and grinned. Let's fly it. Above the planet, the Zevran prepared for war. Below, humans prepared to fight back. And for the first time, the galaxy would see what happens when you mess with a species that doesn't know when to quit. Let me know if you want part 4 or if you'd like this saved as a document, Word or PDF. Here is Gear part 4 yars of your story. That was just the Vanguard? Written in third person, using simple and basic English. This section is around 800 words long and continues the story as humanity launches its first large-scale defense against the Zevran invaders. The sky over Earth turned red with fire. Zevran warships hovered above major cities, firing beams of energy that melted buildings into glass. The attacks came fast and without mercy. Millions fled. Millions more died. But not everyone ran. In hidden bases and underground labs, people worked through the night. They built weapons from scrap. They launched satellites into orbit. They turned old cargo ships into fighters, and they fought back. One of those fighting was Tyler Bennett, the hacker from California. He had broken into Zevran communications weeks ago. Now he listened to their commands, their plans, their fears. They think we're breaking, he told his team. They're wrong. He sat in a small room filled with blinking screens and tangled wires. Around him were others like him. Students, coders, engineers. They called themselves GhostNet. Tyler found something new. They're syncing their targeting systems, he said. If I can get inside, you can... Mess with them? Asked Lisa Chen, another hacker. I can make them shoot each other. Lisa grinned. Do it. Tyler typed fast. His fingers flew across the keyboard. He sent fake signals, tricked enemy computers, rerouted targeting data. Above the skies of Texas, 3 Zevran destroyers lined up for a coordinated strike. Then one fired on another. A bright flash lit up the clouds. One ship exploded before it even knew what hit it. The remaining 2 opened fire on each other, confused and angry. Back on the ground, Tyler leaned back and smiled. That's one way to win a battle. Far away in Colorado, Jason Cole watched. The reports come in. This isn't just luck, he said. We're winning because we're smart. His team had grown. Hundreds of fighters now trained under him. Not just soldiers, but pilots, snipers, drivers, and even farmers who knew how to use explosives better than anyone. He stood in front of a group of young men and women. We've been hiding, he told them. Now it's time to come out. They climbed into trucks loaded with weapons and gear. They drove toward the nearest landing zone. There, waiting for them, was the Wraith. It looked like something out of a dream. A fighter jet made from alien metal, powered by stolen engines built by hands that never gave up. Dan Reyes stepped forward. I'll fly it, he said. Mara Ellis checked the final readings. If you survive the first flight, maybe we'll build more. Dan laughed. I'll take my chances. He climbed into the cockpit. The engine roared to life. Within minutes, he was in the air. Below, humans cheered. Above, Zevran ships watched in confusion. The Wraith moved faster than any human plane ever built. It twisted through the sky, dodging enemy fire. Dan locked onto a drone and fired. A beam of blue light cut through the air. The drone exploded. More drones came. Dan dove low, then shot upward. He flew between buildings, used city lights to hide, and ambushed the machines one by one. Finally, he targeted the main command ship hovering over Denver. He dove straight at it. Alarms blared aboard the Zevran vessel. Unknown craft approaching, an officer shouted. Vreltan stared at the screen. It's just one fighter. Should we launch countermeasures? No. Watch. Dan pulled the trigger. The Wraith fired everything it had. A direct hit. The command ship rocked. Smoke poured. From its side, systems failed. Lights flickered. Then it fell. It crashed into the mountains, trailing fire behind it. On the ground, people saw it fall. They didn't run. They raised their fists. They shouted. Back in space, the Zevran Council watched the feed. Denver lost, one said. So was Dallas, added another. And Tokyo. Silence followed. Then Vreltan spoke. They are not animals. They are not savages. What are they? Someone asked. They are learning too fast. They will not stop. Another pause. Prepare the fleet. Sir? We go all in. Across the galaxy, more Zevran ships began to move. Earth had become something no one expected. Not a target, not a colony. Battlefield. And the humans were ready. Not with fancy ships or perfect tech, but with heart, with courage, and with every bit of cleverness they had. Because when the Zevran thought they were attacking a weak world, they had no idea. That was just the Vanguard. Let me know if you'd like this saved as a document, Word or PDF, or if you want Part 5 next. Here is Part 5 of your story. That was just the Vanguard, written in third person using simple and basic English. This section is around 800 words long and continues the story as humanity faces the true cost of war and begins to fight not just for survival, but for revenge. The sky burned. Zevran warships rained fire down on Earth. Whole cities turned to ash. Millions were lost. Families torn apart. Homes gone in seconds. But still, the humans did not stop. In a bunker beneath a mountain in Colorado, Jason Cole sat at a table with maps spread out in front of him. His face was tired, his eyes red from lack of sleep. Around him, others stood waiting. We've held them, he said. But we can't just hold. We need to hit back. Dan Reyes walked in, still wearing his flight suit. His hands were shaking. I saw it, he said. What they did to Chicago, I was too late. No one spoke. They all knew what he meant. Mara Ellis looked up from her tablet. We can build more Wraiths, she said. We have the parts. But we need pilots, Dan added. I'll go, said a voice from the back. It was Carla Norton, a former test pilot. Quiet, fast, and fearless. I flew everything we had, she said. Now I want to fly something that bites back. Jason nodded. Then we make more. Across the country, factories worked nonstop. People welded metal, wired systems, tested weapons. Old cargo ships were turned into fighters. Homemade satellites became shields in orbit, and people volunteered. Farmers gave their trucks. Hunters gave their rifles. Students gave their time. Teachers taught others how to fight. Even those who couldn't fight helped. They cooked. They cleaned. They sent messages. They kept hope alive. Tyler Bennett sat in a dark room filled with screens. He was tired, but he kept working. He had found something big. They're scared, he told Lisa Chen. Their comms are full of panic. Lisa leaned closer. What kind of panic? They don't think they can win. She smiled. Good. Tyler typed faster. He broke into Zevran command channels, stole codes, learned where their ships were going next. Then he sent the info to Jason. They're moving toward New York, Tyler said. Big strike planned. Jason looked at the map. We hit them first. Back in space, Vreltan stood on the bridge of his command ship. This will end soon, he said. Earth will fall. His aide wasn't so sure. The humans keep fighting, the aide said. They don't fear us. They should. No, they hate us. Vreltan turned. Then we crushed them. The next day, the Zevran fleet moved toward the east coast. But they weren't alone. Hidden among the clouds, flying low and fast, were the Wraiths. Carla led the attack. 5 planes, each carrying stolen weapons and home-built tech. They dove through the sky like arrows. The Zevran ships opened fire. Lasers lit up the clouds. Explosions tore through the air. One Wraith went down, then another. Still they flew on. Dan targeted the largest ship. He dove straight at it, dodging enemy fire. He fired, a direct hit. The ship's side cracked open. Smoke poured out. But then, a drone locked onto him. Before it could fire, Carla dove in front of it. Her plane took the hit. She didn't scream. Her fighter spun out of control and vanished into the clouds. Dan saw it happen. He didn't cry. He flew straight at the enemy. Behind him, more human ships arrived. Modified freighters, hacked drones, even old bombers. They came from everywhere, and they fought like hell. By the end of the battle, 3 Zevran ships lay burning in the ocean, but 2 Wraiths were gone, including Carla. Back on the ground, people gathered around radios and phones. They heard the news, they cheered, then they cried. Jason stood outside the bunker looking at the sky. She didn't die for nothing, he whispered. Dan walked up beside him. She died because we made a promise. What promise? That we wouldn't let them take our world. Jason looked at him. We won't. Above them, more ships were being built, more pilots trained, more plans made. Because now this wasn't just about Earth. It was about every planet the Zevran had ever taken, every life they had ever destroyed. Every species they had ever crushed. Humanity had been pushed to the edge. And now they were ready to push back. Harder than anyone expected, because when the Zevran thought they were dealing with helpless animals, they had no idea. That was just the Vanguard.
Here is part 6 of your story. That was just the Vanguard? Written in third person, using simple and basic English. This section is around 800 words long and continues the story as humanity begins to take the fight beyond Earth. The
Zevran pulled back. After the battle above New York, their ships left Earth's orbit. They didn't retreat. They regrouped. Back on their homeworld, the council argued. They are too fast, one said. They learn too much. They should have broken by now, another added. Vreltan stood still, watching the reports. They did not break, he said. They became stronger. Far below on Earth, Jason Cole read the same reports. They're leaving, he told Dan Reyes. But not forever. Dan nodded. They'll come back harder. Jason looked at a map of nearby space. We don't wait for them. What do you mean? We go to them. Across the world, humans were changing. No longer just defenders, they were becoming something new. Fighters, explorers, soldiers of the stars. In Colorado, Mara Ellis worked day and night with her team. They built engines that could leave the solar system. They fixed alien drives. They turned old cargo ships into warships. One ship stood out. It was called the Iron Wolf. Built from parts of captured Zevran tech, it was fast, strong, and full of human spirit. Captain Alex Porter stood on its deck. He used to be in the Navy. Now he was leading the first human fleet into deep space. This isn't just about us, he told his crew. We show the galaxy what we can do. The mission was clear. Find the Zevran colonies, free the slaves, hit them where they least expect. On a small moon near Mars, Tyler Bennett and Lisa Chen worked on hacking enemy networks. They keep records, Tyler said. Whole lists of planets they've taken, people they've trapped. Lisa frowned. We can help them. Tyler smiled. We will. They sent messages through hidden channels. They reached out to other species telling them, you are not alone. Some answered, a group of lizard-like beings from Varkos, a floating race from the planet Neareth. Even a few former Zevran soldiers who had seen enough. They all wanted the same thing: freedom, and maybe revenge. Back in space, the Iron Wolf led a fleet of 6 ships, not big, not fancy, but full of heart. Their first stop was a Zevran mining colony on a frozen moon. Thousands of slaves worked there. Humans weren't the only ones the Zevran had captured. When the Iron Wolf arrived, the guards thought it was a mistake. Then the guns opened fire. Lasers lit up the sky. Explosions shook the ground. The humans dropped from the sky in stolen drop pods. Jason led the ground team. Beside him was a young fighter named Nate Ruiz. He used to be a mechanic. Now he carried a rifle made from scrap and hope. They fought hard. The Zevran guards tried to hold the line. They failed. Within hours, the colony was free. Slaves cried. Some hugged the humans, others picked up weapons and joined them. Jason stood on top of a ruined tower. He looked out at the freed people. "This is just the start," he said. Behind him, Alex Porter landed the Iron Wolf. "We move again tomorrow." To where? To the next prison. Back on Earth, the news spread. Humans had gone beyond the stars, and they were winning. Not because they had the best ships or the strongest weapons, because they fought for something real. Freedom, justice, hope, and, maybe, just maybe, revenge. Above the frozen moon, the Zevran comms lit up with panic. "They are coming," one officer said. "To where?" "All over." Another paused. "They are not just fighting us. They are hunting us." Across the galaxy, fear began to grow. Not among the weak, but among the powerful. Because when the Zevran thought they had found an easy world, they had no idea. That was just the Vanguard. Here is Part 7 of your story. That was just the Vanguard. Written in third person, using simple and basic English. This section is around 800 words long and continues the story as the Zevran discover a shocking truth about humanity's past year and their own. The Zevran High Command sat in silence. A new report had come in, not from the front lines, not from battle, but from the archives. Old records, hidden files, long-forgotten war logs. Vreltan read them with cold eyes. "What does it mean?" one council member asked. "It means," Vreltan said slowly, "we may have made a terrible mistake." On Earth, Jason Cole stood in a hidden lab beneath Colorado. He wasn't alone. Mara Ellis and Tyler Bennett were there too. They looked at a screen filled with data. "This came from a stolen Zevran ship," Tyler said. "It's old, really old." Mara zoomed in on a symbol. "I've seen this before," she whispered. "Not on Earth, not anywhere we know." Jason frowned. "Where?" "In some ruins," she said. "In Antarctica." Back in space, the Zevran sent a team to dig up more files. They searched ancient storage vaults, places no one had touched in centuries. What they found shook them. Images, battles, a war long before their empire rose. And in every image, there was a species that looked familiar. Human, but not just human, stronger, faster, more advanced. Legends called them the First Flame, a race that once fought the Zevran and nearly destroyed them. They weren't supposed to exist, one Zevran scientist said. "We erased them, or so we thought," another replied. Back on Earth, the team flew to Antarctica. They landed near an old ice-covered ruin, the kind people thought was just a myth. Inside, they found something no one expected, a statue of a man, wearing armor, unlike anything on Earth, holding a weapon that glowed even after thousands of years. Jason ran his hand over the stone. "We're not just fighting for survival," he said. "We're finishing what someone else started." Tyler looked at his tablet. "There's more," he said. "This isn't just here. There are sites like this all over the world, and beyond." "You mean?" "We didn't start from nothing," Mara said. "Someone gave us a push." Jason turned to her. You think humans are descendants of these first flame people? She nodded. Maybe. Or maybe we're the last spark. Back in space, the Xavran argued. We must pull back, one general said. If they are who we think they are, they will not stop, another added. No, Vreltan said. They will finish what their ancestors began. He looked at the images again. The first flame almost ended us once. And now? Someone asked. Now they are awake. Far from Earth, Alex Porter and his fleet moved through deep space. They had freed 3 more colonies. Each time they found more allies, beings from other worlds who had suffered under the Xavran. Some joined them. Some gave supplies. Others just thanked them. One night, Alex met with a leader from the Neareth, the floating race. You fight like beings with purpose, the leader said. Alex smiled. We do, the leader paused. Do you know where you come from? Alex frowned. Earth. Yes, the being said. But before that, back on Earth, Tyler kept digging through the stolen files. Then he found it. A message. From the Xavran. Long ago. It said, the first flame must be erased. Their fire cannot return. Tyler stared at the screen. They knew, he whispered. They always knew. Mara walked over. Knew what? That we'd come back. Outside, snow fell over the ruins. Inside, the truth burned bright. Humans weren't just a lucky species. They were the last hope of a forgotten war, and now they were ready to win. Because when the Xavran thought they had wiped out the first flame, they had no idea. That was just the Vanguard. Here is Part 8, the final part of your story. That was just the Vanguard, written in third person, using simple and basic English. This section is around 800 words long and concludes the epic tale as humanity rises to become a true galactic power. The Xavran sent their largest fleet yet, dozens of warships, hundreds of fighters, thousands of soldiers. They called it the final burn. Their goal, destroy Earth, wipe out humanity, end the threat forever. But they were too late. On Earth, Jason Cole stood on top of a mountain base, looking up at the sky. They're coming, he said. Dan Reyes walked up beside him. We've been waiting for this. Jason nodded. Across the world, humans prepared, not just soldiers, not just pilots or hackers. Everyone. Farmers built bombs, teachers helped with comms, kids carried messages between bases. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was home, and they would die to protect it. In space, the human fleet waited. Ships from Earth. Ships stolen from the Xavran. Ships given by freed species. The Iron Wolf led them all. Captain Alex Porter stood on the bridge. We fight not just for Earth, he told his crew. We fight for every world the Xavran have crushed. Behind him, fleets from Nyrith, Varkos, and other freed planets lined up. They were ready. Back on Zevra Prime, the Council argued. They are not just fighting, one said. They are uniting. They are building something new, another added. Vreltan watched the enemy fleet grow on the screen. They are not savages, he said. They are not animals. What are they? Someone asked. They are what we feared. He turned to the others. They are the first flame. Then the attack began. Xavran ships dropped from hyperspace like falling stars. Lasers lit up the sky. Explosions tore through space. Human ships dove into the storm. The Iron Wolf led the charge. Alex fired everything he had. Fighters weaved through. Enemy lines. Bombers struck hard and fast. Below on Earth, defense teams worked non-stop. Mara Ellis oversaw the shield network. Her team used stolen tech to block incoming fire. Tyler Bennett hacked deep into Xavran systems. I've got control of some of their ships, he said. Time to turn them against each other. Lisa Chen grinned. Make them shoot their own. Tyler typed fast. Above the Pacific Ocean, 2 Xavran destroyers opened fire on each other. One exploded before it could react. On the ground, Jason led the last line of defense. Thousands of humans fought across cities, forests, deserts. They didn't run. They held. One fighter, Nate Ruiz, flew a stolen Zevran jet through the clouds. He locked onto an enemy carrier. "I'm not letting you land," he whispered. He dove, fired. Missiles hit. The carrier burned. Nate didn't pull up in time. He went down with a smile. His name would be remembered. Across the battlefield, more heroes rose. Women, men, old, young, all fighting for the same thing, freedom. After hours of battle, the tide turned. Zevran ships fell one by one. Their command ship tried to retreat. Alex saw it and gave chase. "This ends now," he said. The Iron Wolf fired everything it had. The Zevran flagship cracked open. Inside, Vrelton stood alone. He looked at the burning stars. "They were never supposed to rise again," he whispered. Then the ship exploded. When the battle ended, the sky was silent. The Zevran were gone or broken, some surrendered, some fled. Some begged for peace. Earth survived. But it wasn't just about Earth anymore. Across the galaxy, new messages spread. The humans live. The first flame has returned. The war is over, and we won. On Earth, Jason stood with Dan, Mara, and Tyler. "We did it," Dan said. "No," Jason said. "We started it." Mara smiled. "Now we build." Tyler looked up at the stars. "Maybe we're not done yet." Far away, new colonies formed. Humans, Nereth, Varkosi, and others joined together. They called themselves the Terran Alliance. Not an empire, not a conqueror, but a promise. To protect, to help, to fight for those who couldn't. Because when the Zevran thought they had found a weak world, they had no idea. That was just the Vanguard. And now? Now the galaxy knew. Humans don't back down. Humans don't stop. Humans fuck yeah.